Hello, everyone, and welcome to TalentHut TESOL Academy podcast series. I am your host, Sabina Rustamova, greeting you from the land of fire, Azerbaijan. So, you are listening to our special episode titled AI in English language teaching or in education. In this episode, we'll explore how artificial intelligence is reshaping the way we teach, learn, and collaborate in the field of ELT. From adapting lessons to diverse cultural contexts, to supporting teachers in multilingual classrooms, to sparking creativity in lesson planning. That's inevitable. AI is opening doors. And we even couldn't have imagined that just a few years ago, right? And today I'm delighted to be joined by a very special guest, Feruz Akbarov. Feruz is a global presenter, author, and international ELT expert, as well as the founder of ETA, which stands for English Teachers Association. It's a kind of network in Uzbekistan. His work has inspired educators across continents, bridging ideas and practices that make language teaching more inclusive, innovative, and impactful. With over a decade of experience, Mr. Feruz has not only taught English in diverse cultural contexts, but also shaped professional development opportunities for teachers worldwide. Mr. Feruz, please welcome our listeners' audience.
Hi, everyone. That was a lovely introduction by my host, Ms. Sabina Rustama from Azerbaijan. Like she said, the land of fire. And I'm all too excited to tackle all the questions that you prepared for today's podcast.
Great, thank you very much. Together, we'll reflect on past initiatives like English at Home, consider how AI could support similar projects today, and discuss practical ways teachers can harness AI without losing the human touch, creativity that makes learning more impactful. And it's a privilege to have you, Mr. Feroz. And let's dive
Thank you.
into the conversation more deeply. So, how do you
Let's
see
do it.
Okay, great. So, how do you see AI helping teachers adapt their lessons to different cultural contexts?
And that's such a lovely question. Um, The emergence of artificial intelligence has surely amplified the notion of creating
Mhm,
culturally inclusive content as well as context. Think of the teaching materials about 10 or even 20 years ago.
mhm,
Our students were barely exposed to global culture, but now we're living in the world which is culturally interconnected. Think of Nigeria, Azerbaijan, China, Brazil, Australia. All these countries are now part of the global family, global village.
definitely.
And why not integrate uh, global culture into the heart of our ELT, our English language teaching classes? And that's just one side of the coin. But the other side is there are now AI tools like Claude or Perplexity AI, which can help us, the English teachers, to review the lesson plans and identify those culturally insensitive or culturally unfamiliar references. Well, let me give you an example. You might be teaching a lesson on, let's say, a Western festival to a group of students in Azerbaijan. And your students might not be familiar with some culturally idiomatic phrases that they have never encountered in Azerbaijan. Or some of the examples that you may provide may conflict with the local cultural norms.
Mhm,
And Claude and Perplexity AI tools are there to review those
mhm,
potential pitfalls and setbacks that may cause some a misunderstanding, cultural misunderstanding. So the emergence of artificial intelligence and most specifically generative AI tools has made it a lot more possible for us English teachers to be more culturally aware of the lessons. Let me give you an example. About 14 years ago, when I first landed in China as an expat English teacher, little did I know that there was something called cultural understanding.
mhm,
When I faced my first Chinese students in the class, I had very little understanding and knowledge of what China was like. It was a huge country with thousands of years of culture, and I had, you know, almost no idea about all of that. And unfortunately, at some point, I felt teaching in China was challenging just because I wasn't able to be on the same wavelength with my Chinese students because there was certainly a clash of cultural misunderstanding. And
Mhm.
that was coming into play as the time went by. And I realized that if I want to become more successful expert teacher, no matter in China, in Azerbaijan, in Poland, elsewhere, I have to learn first about the local culture
Definitely.
because all of the examples, the activities,
Mhm.
the lesson plans that I'm about to design should center around, should be based on the local culture with full respect. And once I ensure that there is a full compliance with the local culture, the students would be able to refer to the examples that I provide, and they can actually, involuntarily realize the fact that their foreign teacher is actually well aware of their culture and fully respects it, you know.
Thank you very much. That's such an important starting point. Yes, because cultural context really shapes how students connect with language. That's really important for the teachers like us to address their needs, to address their, let's say, hearts, to be close to their hearts. Yes, by
Exactly.
thinking, yes, their cultural concept much more. Okay, so thank you very much. Looking back at projects like English at Home, if you had today's AI tools, what would you do differently to reach learners?
Oh, that's another nice question. Looking back in time, it was exactly 4 years ago that I initiated the first of its kind TV project, which was aimed at promoting English learning across the region in Samarkand, which
Mhm,
is my place. And as part of that project, I had to tour across the rural areas
mhm,
with a big microphone in my hand, and I had to go into different local homes
mhm,
and initiate a conversation in English with the villagers, with
ah,
English learners in the rural areas. And that was the part of the why I initiated this TV project. And that's why it's called English at Home, because I used to go to local homes and have the TV program filmed in their respective homes. And I had to juggle multiple roles and duties and responsibilities in that particular TV project. I was the producer, the host, the director, the editor. You know, yeah, I felt at some point I felt that was too much for one person. I was like multitasking Superman. And I wish I had AI by then, especially when it came to the the writing of the script.
mhm,
For each TV episode, I had to write the script myself. I was the script writer as well. Like I said, I had many different roles in that TV project. And just to give you an example, maybe as a non-native English teacher, it
mhm,
is fine. It is totally okay to make a mistake, even
mhm,
in the class. But in no way you're allowed to make a mistake on TV. So you
mhm,
have a tremendous responsibility on your shoulders. And then I knew that, for every single word that was about to be aired,
mhm,
I had to take full responsibility. And I wish I had AI to create the script for me.
mhm,
Because now we know that AI, the Gen AI tools, Gemini, ChatGPT, they can actually create and draft any content for any context instantly.
mhm,
You know, no effort required, which is wonderful. And so it could have been time saving for me as well because, doing lots of different roles, it's time consuming and painstaking effort. And I wish I had AI to relax that burden from me.
Mhm.
And I wish AI could have made it more interactive. Like I said, I had many different roles in that TV project, and I had very little time to think about making the program highly engaging and interactive. So I think I could have consulted AI for more ideas to really spice it up with tons of interactive ideas for each episode. All of those episodes were run pretty much in the same style. But I
Mhm.
wish I could vary, I could diversify each episode from the previous one by the help of AI. And if I go back in time, and if I have a chance to harness the benefits of AI, I could definitely make it a lot more intriguing and exciting.
So love that reflection, especially as you mentioned that English at their respective home,
Yeah,
because you were all the time guest of someone, yes, in the villages, in
exactly.
urban area, rural areas.
I was traveling with a microphone.
That's good. That was amazing. I am pretty sure that was amazing experience for you. So, when you worked on projects like English at Home, what role could AI tools play today is in supporting similar like educational media initiatives?
I think I have partly scratched the
Yes.
surface of the question, but I'd like to add something on top of what
Mhm.
I've already elucidated. I think I could have used Gen AI tools these
Mhm.
days to redesign
Mhm.
uh, the project.
Mhm.
Well, the idea was pretty basic, like holding the large microphone and just walking into a random village house. Well,
Mhm.
I could have asked AI to come up with some different ideas so that each episode would be totally different and it would be more like an eye-opener for the viewers that
Mhm.
they would not be able to guess what is about to come in the next episode because
Mhm.
it was all too predictable because, you know, after a couple of episodes that had been aired on TV, the viewers were expecting pretty much the same thing,
Mhm.
um, but in different homes with different learners. But I wish I could change uh, the big picture completely.
Completely. Okay. What are some realistic ways AI can support teachers in lesson planning or resource creation without replacing their creativity? So, and what's a way you have seen AI actually spark creativity instead of limiting it?
Well, that's a very thought-provoking question. I'd like to give you a fascinating example that I've been through last year.
Mm-hmm.
I was teaching to a student world classics like The Little Prince
Mm-hmm.
and The Alchemist. I was teaching English through world classics.
Mm-hmm.
Never had that experience before, and I thought that was such a mountain to climb. That was a challenging task. But just because I had AI at my disposal, I tried to initiate a bit of conversation with AI. Like, okay, look, I want to teach world classics
Mm-hmm.
like Little Prince, The Alchemist. How do you want me to start this? Just give me
Mm-hmm.
some ideas. And then I started continuing this conversation for a while. And then I started designing the entire lesson
Mm-hmm.
on those world classics. And after all, I even put the entire paragraph from those respective books into AI and requested AI to generate some relevant image based on the paragraph. And then I had some fascinating pictures coming out of Gen AI with the alchemist in the tent, Santiago, and the alchemist, the desert. the tribes. You know, the entire alchemist was reanimated before my eyes and before my students' eyes. I can't remember if I watched a movie on The Alchemist, but I was able to see the book in pictures,
Mm-hmm.
which was unheard of, which
Mm-hmm.
was never before possible. And through the pictures, you know, I'm such a visual learner myself, apart from being a teacher, and I also design a lot of classes through the pictures and images and videos because that's the best way to ignite their curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
And my student became very much responsive to those images created by AI. You know, I would show the picture and I would assign a task from a certain paragraph,
Mm-hmm.
and the student would come back to the lesson and I would ask a question. Do you see any difference between the paragraph and the picture? Now, that would be the first kind of question. And the student would start um, activating the prior knowledge, the
Mm-hmm.
background knowledge, and trying to see for the parallels or the contrast. And that's when the student can actually dig deeper into understanding of the alchemist. And then I would design some very highly engaging and challenging tasks by the AI through the pictures and the text kind of combo. So AI made the class super creative, and I don't think AI actually limited
Mm-hmm.
my creative skills because I used AI more like a prompt, but
Mm-hmm.
not like the maker of the final product.
Mm-hmm.
Because um, I would just, try to address my most concerning questions through AI, but I was the one who would approve the final product. It's up to me. It's up to my creative understanding and skills to put the finishing touches. And I never let the AI do that work. I allow AI to do the heavy lifting,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm the one to put the finishing touches.
Super.
And when it comes to that kind of combination of work, I, I I'm confident that the teachers would never lose their creative skills.
Mm-hmm. I think it depends on the way that you are using. So as you mentioned, you still keep yourself as a like I mean initiator, like to
Exactly.
design the whole stuff, but give
I'm in charge of the entire
yes.
process.
Yes, you are responsible for the whole process. You don't let AI do it instead of you. That's a great point that you mentioned.
Yes.
So, okay, great. I have got another question. From your experience in Central Asia, do teachers see AI as something practical for everyday classroom use, or is it still more of a distant kind of idea? What makes them lean one way to another one?
One of my most successful projects ever was to tour around the rural areas and provide CPD programs. They are
Mm-hmm.
in the form of workshop, seminar training, virtual presentations, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And part of which I'm going to initiate soon is at the start of next month on April 3rd in one of the most remote districts of my region, where I'm going to organize the first ever international Pecha Kucha
Mm-hmm.
in partnership with Azerbaijan English Teachers Association.
Yes.
This has never happened in Uzbekistan and maybe in the entire Central Asian region. And I'm so proud that I am pioneering this event. And look, the event is going to take place again in the rural area. Why am I doing that? Because it's in line with SDG 4, United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 4,
Mm-hmm.
providing quality and equitable education for all. So
Mm-hmm.
this is fully in line with the global goal. It's like the accomplishment, the realization of the global goal locally in the remote part of my country. And like I said, I've been already doing those kind of CPD programs across the rural areas.
Mm-hmm.
And, what came across as a shocking revelation to be frank, the most of those rural teachers are well acquainted with the latest AI tools. It was like eye-opening experience to me. I was holding an international forum last year in another remote district with the rural teachers, and the theme was about AI. And I asked some questions about AI, and the rural teachers were saying like, we use Gemini, we use ChatGPT, we use Magic Eye School, we use some other AI tools. Said, really? I was like, I was really stunned by the responses, by the sheer responses I got from them. So I don't think it's a distant future thing.
Mhm.
It's a thing of the present. And I
Mhm.
can confidently say if this is happening in the rural areas, I'm sure in the city, people are far ahead of what's going on with AI, and they might have been actively integrating the AI, various AI and Gen AI tools into their lessons.
Mhm.
And I'm just painting the picture for Uzbekistan, but there are some for other countries, and I'm sure they might be doing the same.
Yes, definitely. We are doing the same actually. We try, let's say, to expose our knowledge from the same perspective, and we try to, let's say, enrich our not only central, let's say, uh, we are living in Baku, right? So in rural areas, it's a little bit different. It varies, and we try to engage those teachers, those trainees as well, to get enriched with that knowledge and to develop their AI skills. So that's great. So we are doing our best. So how do you
Nice.
think AI can help with differentiation in multilingual classrooms? And please give a sample of any AI tool that might give us support.
Thinking of AI, especially Gen AI, the best thing that comes to mind is that AI was able to provide a differentiated content and context as well. This is one of the best things that AI can offer. And I can provide a good example. It's called Diffit,
Mm-hmm.
Diffit, Diffit.
Yeah.
That's an AI tool. You can upload the topic or the text onto Diffit, and Diffit can actually um,
Adjust.
adjust or simplify the text with
Mm-hmm.
multiple scenarios and proficiency levels, like ranging from A1 all the way to C2.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the class, especially if you're teaching in a public school, even at so-called language schools, the private schools, they still have students with multiple backgrounds and proficiency levels. They might be sitting in the same intermediate group, but still, I feel some of them are low intermediate, high intermediate, mid intermediate, right? So still, it is up to the teacher to kind of adjust the content, to differentiate the instruction. And the DIFED can do that, the job for English teachers. It can uh, simplify, adjust the content, and provide plethora of examples to make it more tailor-made and customized. And this can get the best out of the students when they feel like they can engage with the content. That's something as teachers we need to ensure. We might be going to class with the same um, pre-planned material, but it may never cross our mind that this pre-planned material may have very little to engage with some of the students in the class.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the brilliant the brilliant ones may respond
Mm-hmm.
all too quickly, but those lagging behind may have very little to engage with the material. So it is up to us to ensure that the content is engaging for everyone across the board. And DFID can ensure that for us.
Yeah.
It's AI.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that tool. Honestly, it can also offer various tasks to instill
Yes,
the students, let's say, to like check their comprehension on specific topic.
exactly.
So that's really great. It might just generate kind of let's say yes no
Multiple
questions, let's say
scenarios.
multiple questions, so it might give us various, as I mentioned, tasks to check their
Right.
understanding. So that's great. Yes, I'm using it. It's a really practical one. So okay, do you see AI as a tool that can make professional development more accessible to teachers in remote regions? So basically you answered somehow it's in the
Yes,
previous.
but I have some other examples.
Sure.
Yeah. There's a wonderful AI tool called TeachFX.
Hmm.
And if you put the teaching script or the recording to TeachFX, it can actually analyze and provide feedback on uh, teacher time versus student time,
Hmm.
on the clarity of the instructions, whether the teacher used mostly ICQs or CCQs, or the ICQs and CCQs were used correctly or incorrectly, and the types of questions, the comprehension questions, were they addressed correctly or incorrectly, and the student responses and the student interaction, whether the class was more of a student-centered or more of a teacher-centered or somewhere in between. So there are many different questions that TeachFX can actually analyze and provide the feedback. And especially if it is in the rural setting or in the countryside, where the CPD programs are actually challenging to reach out those people. So now, by the help of AI tools like TeachFX, they can actually have a kind of a virtual teacher trainer
Hmm.
or a kind of a virtual assistant, which is available 24/7. So they can have the class transcript or the lesson plans or some bits of fragments, clips from their teaching classes, or the audio recording of the entire class. And the TeachFX can critically analyze and point out the setbacks, the advantages, the strong points, the weak points, the areas that further need to be improved. Yeah, it's awesome. Like I remember I did Celta 12 years ago in Poland, in Krakow.
Hmm.
And then a lot of things, not a lot of things, like everything was delivered by human teachers. And we had very little of such luxury like what AI can offer. And even those human tutors, mentors, they had very limited time during the course. I was only able to get some of my questions answered in the very short, limited time frame, either during the practical class or just during their break. Even the break, they were very limited time. So after all, there was very limited human availability of those teachers, those teacher trainers. But the TeachFX, that's like a machine. It's like a
Hmm.
chatbot that that operates fully autonomously, and it's 24/7 available. And now we need to harness the greater benefits of those. And I'm sure this will come in handy, especially for those rural teachers in the countryside, for whom it is hard to hold on to CPD programs in their respective locations because they need to travel to far areas, especially to bigger major cities. And this is part of the reason why I try to organize this in a national CPD programs in their respective locations, just to make sure that they're also part of this global community. They're not left behind.
Definitely. So that then we might call that accessibility is such a powerful promise of AI tools, and especially for the teachers who feel isolated, so or away from us. So,
Yes.
how might AI assist in teacher training, for example, through simulations, feedback, or personalized learning paths?
I can think of another wonderful AI tool. It's called Monly.
Mhm,
Monly, it has AI features, speech recognition, and chatbots,
mhm,
and it comes with virtual reality as well as augmented reality, AR and VR. Um, Basically, it allows us to simulate the real world situations at a
mhm,
hotel, on the train, a football stadium, amusement park, shopping mall, you just name it,
mhm,
or a museum. For example, I've never been to the Louvre
mhm,
in Paris. So what I can do is, and I'm sure my students haven't been there either. So what we can do is, by the help of Monly, we can actually initiate a virtual tour to Paris, not just the museum, but the entire city. We can also, climb the Eiffel Tower by the help of Monly VR. And the Monly VR comes with virtual spaces.
mhm,
And we can actually organize a scheduled virtual meetup sessions where some other virtual partners may join from the partnering schools from abroad. Let's say if my school is partnering with the school in Azerbaijan and the school in Brazil, all three at the same scheduled time, we can initiate a virtual session
mhm,
where the participants join
mhm,
and interact, let's say somewhere in Egypt, in
mhm,
Giza, around the Egyptian pyramids.
mhm,
A group of students from Uzbekistan, a group of students from Azerbaijan, and a group of students from Brazil. And the meetup point, the assembly point is the pyramids in Egypt.
mhm,
And they would walk around. The student from Uzbekistan would, start a conversation with his Brazilian counterpart, say, "Look, have you seen anything like this? Like in
mhm,
Uzbekistan, we don't have such a colossal structure." And then he might say, "No, we have something like the Christ Redemption statue in Rio de Janeiro." And the one in Baku might say, "We have those flaming towers in Baku."
yeah,
So, they will have lots of interesting stuff to talk, and most importantly, they can initiate this virtual conversation while immersing in 360-degree real world scenario. This
mhm,
is just one example. Or they can have a simulated virtual partner, which means, let's say, a group of students from Uzbekistan may think of a location, let's say somewhere in Nordic states, in
mhm,
Norway, in
mhm,
Norway. So my students would like to see the freezing cold winter because we don't have those freezing
mhm,
cold winters here, and it doesn't snow a lot these days here. So they want to see lots of snow. So I invite them virtually to be somewhere in the northern part of Norway, and then we can start, trotting
mhm,
along the snow, and we can have some local simulated partner speaking in English, Norwegian local who is speaking English to a group of Uzbek students. And they'll know Norwegian is actually a simulated character. It's not real. So we can use the Monly in many different ways. Either we can have a virtual simulated partner or the
mhm.
real partners joining the virtual space and initiating the conversation while being in different corners of the globe.
Okay, that's really exciting what you mentioned. Even it would be amazing, like experiment experience for the students, especially who haven't ever tried VR, AR, as you mentioned. Yeah, that would be a really great initiative if we could do, of course. So, what concerns do you think teachers should keep in mind when integrating AI into ELT?
I think definitely the ethical considerations.
Mhm,
AI is more like a double-edged sword.
mhm,
So it has both benefits and drawbacks as well. So far, we've been talking about countless, numerous advantages that it can offer, and it's been offering so far. But alongside the advantages, we should also take into account the disadvantages, such as over-reliance on technology, on AI tools.
yeah.
And a part of your question, part of your earlier questions was, can AI actually limit the creative skills? And I said, it depends on the way we use. But in
Mhm,
that particular example that I provided, it didn't affect my creative skills. But
mhm,
yes, it can. Yes, it can affect if oh, a person completely relies on AI to do
mhm,
everything, to do everything for him. Well, for example, let's say as a teacher, if I want to teach a lesson and I task AI with creating the content, every single detail, and I just go to class and try to teach without reviewing what came out of AI, without critically evaluating pros and cons, whether that is appropriate to the, whether that's level appropriate, whether that's culture sensitive, no,
mhm,
we have to consider a lot of potential pitfalls. And another problem is um, AI can uh, create lots of fake stuff.
mhm,
Yeah, we shouldn't be blind about it. We can't uh, accept taking everything what comes out of AI. We should filter it, and only then we can make sure that that's ready enough to share with the class. So the overlines, the plagiarism, the fake content,
mhm,
uh, the biased content, sometimes it can be biased.
mhm,
We have to ensure that it's